Welcome back everybody out there on LinkedIn for one last time. We're streaming live from Friedrichshafen, Germany, from BASF's booth here at Fakuma 2021. And I could say we saved the best for last, because we haven't picked an easy topic, we haven't picked a light topic, but we have picked a topic which also means a massive transformation for one of BASF's biggest customer industries, namely the automotive industry. And of course, I won't discuss this with myself, but we have an expert here, Prinz. Hi, Michael.
Hello.
You have just arrived here at Friedrichshafen and you had some automotive issues, you could say.
I wouldn't call them automotive issues. Yeah. It's related to the traffic. It's a very nice region, but it's a little bit remote.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to just arrive. And traffic-wise, it took me 5 hours from Ludwigshafen to come here.
Okay, but we're very happy that you made it, and we're very happy that you also made it in time, because we have a lot to discuss. Sustainability, digitalization, eMobility. You claim that you are driving forward together with your customers into the automotive future. How are you driving?
Yes. Thanks for the question. I mean, basically, what we spotted is that the entire industry is under tremendous transformation. I would even say, and other experts told me that, it is the biggest transformation that we have ever faced in automotive industry. We have to drive for going electric. At a time, we have to drive to go sustainable, and we need enabling structures. And I would call digitalization an enabling mean in order to make that happen. Mm-hmm. Yeah? So what we did when we spotted those trends is we looked on our R&D portfolio, and we tremendously streamlined our R&D portfolio towards the new megatrends, towards e-mobility and sustainability. On the other hand side, we looked also on the existing organization. Mm-hmm. So what we did is we organized our organization according to those needs.
Okay. Yeah.
So we have a very strong focus now on e-mobility in terms of R&D, in terms of technical development, and also in sales force.
So that basically means BASF is also has to change in order to still fulfill the requirements of your customer industry.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. There is, as I said, it's the biggest trend ever seen, and it is a very, let's say, big challenge for us.
Okay.
But I'm confident that with the structures we just established, with the vehicles that we have put in place, like chem cycling, biomass balance, our focus on e-mobility, we have equal global structures in the teams entertaining the entire industry, OEMs but also tiers. So I'm very confident that we will be even stronger after this conversion. But for the time being, we have to work a lot, to work hard, to get, let's say, the results manifested.
Which has always been the case, maybe even a little more this time. You mentioned, of course, the R&D portfolio, the material portfolio, but you also mentioned, I think you called it enabling structures and digitalization in that context. Yeah. I mean, this is nothing, I mean, that BASF is a material expert, I mean, that's clear. But how about the digitalization part?
Yeah. So digitalization, I would say, has a part that is rather straightforward, so that you have your data in-house, that you have organized your data in a way that you can work with it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So from the beginning of the processes until the order-to-cash processes. Mm-hmm. Another thing is, if you look on the data organization in the entire automotive ecosystem.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And there we have recently joined the industry, let's say, approach, Catena X, that intends to build a digital ecosystem to get all players on board, to create a transparency from the mining of the raw materials to the final good, which is a car. Yeah? And all the steps in between will be digitalized and transparent.
Okay.
And there is a lot of use cases that comes along with this.
How can I, BASF is a member of that alliance, how can I kind of imagine the cooperation?
Okay. Basically, there are a threefold organization. There is a so-called EV in German.
Electric vehicle?
No.
Okay.
EV doesn't mean electric. It's just a corporation.
Okay.
We founded a corporation.
Okay.
Yeah. And BASF is a member of it. Then we have a so-called consortia. And on this consortia, we are building, let's say, technically everything which is needed to have this data transfer ensured along the value chain of automotive. Plus now of course, we have to consider also who's driving this thing afterwards. Yeah, and we are in talks with all the other, let's say, associated members, which are OEMs, predominantly OEMs from Germany, Volkswagen, Daimler, BMW, but also numerous suppliers like Bosch, ZF, and others, Schaeffler, that are now coming together in a collaborative approach to create this transparency.
Yeah, I think because I mean everybody has heard the call and everybody's seeing the massive need for change and transformation. Another thing that I would like to talk about is you mentioned, now you talked briefly about the cooperation within the Catena X Alliance, but of course you also have a day-to-day interaction with your customers and you're talking about all these topics. How has that changed?
Sure. I mean, one thing for sure can be said is that in the established world of internal combustion drivetrain, the roles in the automotive ecosystem were well, let's say, sorted. So there was tier structures, and the tiers obviously produced parts that afterwards went to the OEM to be mounted in a car. Today, because we are, let's say, tackling barefoot country, we are having the need for new parts, new designs, new layouts. A lot of the role that has been seen at the tier structure in the past has now changed towards the OEM. So the OEM, the car manufacturer, is deciding on the design, on the architecture of a car, and so we got aware that we have to work much more also on the OEM side in order to make sure that we bring the right products to them.
So you also have to kind of understand a little more than what you understood in the past. Yeah?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's why the contact to the OEMs is really essential. Yeah. For example, car architecture. The chassis of a car is also changing due to the trend of eMobility. Yeah, it's not the same platform as it was in the combustion engine era, and this has, of course, tremendous effect on parts that are needed, for example, to absorb the crash-relevant forces. Yeah, and you are just putting your hand on such a part, for example. These parts are crash-relevant crash absorbers that are built in the front end of some Daimler, and this is taking into account that, of course, the forefront of the car is much shorter in eMobility architecture compared to the ICE architecture, and that's why you need, let's say, to absorb higher forces just in front of the repair level of the car. So it means we had a very longish and intensive development together with an OEM in order to realize those parts, to make them really what they should. And it's, I think, the first time ever that a crash absorber has been built in a thermoplastic material.
I'm always amazed by how much innovation and how much development is in such a small piece. But we also have a much bigger piece here. So can you tell me more about this one?
Basically, it's also a piece that goes into a pure electric platform. It's made out of a PA6 with 50% glass fiber, so high strength, high stiffness, and basically is used in the car in order to fix on the other side that you cannot see, to fix the DC-DC converter on it. So it's a structural part. It is, of course, falling out of the injection machine, ready to be mounted. So it has a lot of, let's say, functional integration. Of course, a comparable part out of aluminium die-cast, for example, would need a lot of post, let's say, steps in order to make, let's say, the mounting fixing points ready to be used, and it would be much more heavy.
Yeah, what about the weight? I was just about to ask.
So this bracket now has a weight of 2.4 kg.
Okay.
Yeah, and in aluminium, I guess it would be more than a twofold higher.
Okay, okay. So there is still a lot of material innovation and technology innovation, but this topic of circularity and creating transparency along the value chain is also something that you mentioned. I mean, as a customer, I would imagine that I can require from BASF that you guys actually tell me what in my product is sustainable, bio-based, renewable, and what not. What's going on there?
So BASF started the journey to make the carbon footprints of the products transparent. There's a project called SCOT, so it's a CO2 transparency tool that is enabling to get a carbon footprint of each and every BASF product sold on the market. So upon request of a customer, we are giving these numbers for calculation purposes to our customers to calculate the carbon footprint of their parts based on our material. This is only the initial first step, because then we have an existing carbon footprint.
It's a database, basically.
Exactly.
Okay.
But this is the database that is used as the platform to improve, of course. And we have different means available to improve. Of course, one thing that is also heavily discussed is green energy. So green energy is for sure a mean to reduce the carbon footprint by a factor of perhaps 15 to 20%, depending, of course, on the process behind. As a let's say a quick win, let's say, without any influence on the final part. Recycling is also something that we are, let's say, fostering in BASF.
Which is not easy in the automotive industry.
Which is not easy in the automotive industry. And of course, on recycling, there are basically three different ways to do this. This is the well-known mechanical recycling, where you have a material, and after the use of this material, you are recycling it mechanically. Of course, this is for automotive parts perhaps not always the best solution, because these parts are extremely, let's say, designed on weight, on performance, and you cannot, let's say, risk that such a material is not within the desired specification. That's why we are striving for a situation where we can maintain a very narrow specification of a material and substituting the raw material by something else. And our philosophy is to substitute this by either a pyrolysis oil made of end-of-life tire, so it is a loop which is, let's say, it's related to automotive, but it could also well be by pyrolysis oil out of mixed packaging waste. Mixed packaging waste is becoming an increasing problem because there is so much, and still today up to 40 to 60% is still incinerated. And prior to incineration, we are taking this stream. We are not taking the stream that could be mechanically recycled, but the stream that is not mechanically recycled, and transform this material into a pyrolysis oil. And this pyrolysis oil is then used to substitute the fossil feedstock that we are normally using in our processes. And as such, we are reducing the carbon footprint of the material, and we are addressing the circularity.
One last question I have, if I again put myself in the customer's shoes, and you mentioned the product carbon footprint, this transparency is nice, but what if I say that maybe I can go with a higher carbon footprint here, but I would like to have a different price or something? Is there something like an easy to use tool inside where customers can specify this?
Basically, we are currently developing a tool. We call it integrated sustainability management, where a customer can customize the sustainability fingerprint of each product. So he can deliberately choose how many bio content he would like, or how many recycling content he would like. Or, for example, I would rather take mixed plastic waste, or I would rather prefer end-of-life tires. So we have developed a program that is calculating the sweet spot for the customer in terms of CO2, depending on the optimization that the customer desires. He could say, okay, show me the best option to reduce the CO2 footprint of this material by 30%. And so the machine is calculating how this material would look like if this would be, let's say, filled in as a requirement.
And this is exactly where all of these topics are coming together. Then again, in the end, digitalization is also then about making it easy for the customer. Michael, you have just arrived here at the show, and we can see that you would like to talk more. And I let you go see some customers now so that you can tell them more about that. Thank you very much for these insights.
Thank you very much.
And with that, follow us on LinkedIn. That was it. That was our 8th live stream in 2 days, in 48 hours of Fakuma. The fair has just started. There's still so much more to come. But for the moment, we will say goodbye from our LinkedIn live streams for now. You can still book our experts for 15-minute virtual appointments. Just go to fakuma.basf.com and make sure that you get Michael or any other of the people around here for this little appointment. It was a pleasure to be with you here at Friedrichshafen. It was a pleasure to get your questions, get your challenges, and to interact with you out there live. I let all my colleagues and all the BASF team now go back to their customers and focus on what's really important, creating a sustainable future with plastics. Bye-bye.
BASF. We create chemistry.